Welcome to another episode of Healthy Living. My name's Cole, your host, and today we're going to be looking at Spanakopita, the land of Greece. And it is a delicious, exciting dish that is always popular with the crowd. So if you've got guests coming over, or if you're looking at feeding the family more than one cook for more than one night a week, Spanakopita is certainly one of those dishes you can put on the menu. It's healthy, it's got spinach, it's got garlic, it's got onion, it's got feta cheese, it's got ricotta, so it's all fairly good. And it's all wrapped up in a delicious Filo pastry, which is just astounding. And I can't say much, I can't say anything more about it, it speaks for itself. I've added with this a whole collection of collard greens as well, which really beefs it up too. Adds a little bit more green to it, and also a stack load more fiber. So it is really good. I'm excited, I want you to see it. Let's have a look.
Spanokopita. So 2 bags of green scallions. So I'm going to use collard greens even though typical recipes don't use it. Just going to mix in a little bit to add to the overall flavor with the spinach. Some parsley, a little bit of garlic. Typically it doesn't have garlic, but I like a little flavor of garlic with my spinach pie or Spanakopita. 4 brown onions, 4 eggs, spinach obviously, extra virgin olive oil, some black pepper. I'm going to use a little bit of lemon and pepper as well, which is typically not in the recipe. Filo pastry, some salt, some nutmeg, a little bit of cumin and cilantro. I don't actually have dill, which is typically the recipe, so I'm going to use a little bit of a cilantro cumin mix instead. Some goat cheese, ricotta cheese, and some margarine. And this is going to put together for us our beautiful spinach pie, or Spanakopita, as the Greeks call it. Let's have a look at it all coming together. Alright, so the preparation pieces. You'll see here, I've already pre-prepped or chopped up my green onion, scallions, and my 4 onions here. I've mixed in the parsley as well. That's all finely chopped. And over here, I have my greens organized. So I've actually rinsed them off, chopped them up into smaller pieces, right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off and saute the onions first with my spices and herbs. Add in the greens, my spinach and collard greens. Cook those through. Then let them cool off, and then start working through the rest of the ingredients. What I typically do is I tend to add my spices to the oil first before I add any of the other ingredients. That way then I find that my flavor goes through the entire food process. You know, it adheres to the oil adheres to the rest of the ingredients, and then you get a flavor that permeates everything, which is really kind of nice. The onions have been sauteing now for about 10 minutes. I've been stirring them regularly, letting the oil and the spice mix through. And you'll see here most of the onion pieces, and let's qualify this. This is my 4 brown onions, my two bunches of shallots or scallions and or green onion, and the parsley and all my spices mixed in here with olive oil and cooking through. And you can see here that they've gotten soft. The flavor and the aroma is absolutely delicious. So at this point in time, we're ready to add in the spinach and our greens and let those cook through. And we're expecting those to cook to the point where they will. You want to make sure that before you add them to the pot that they're dry. So if you've rinsed them off, squeeze out any excess water, and then add them to the pot at this point in time. My spinach and greens and my onion mix cook through for, I guess about 15-20 minutes, because I really wanted to make sure that with the collard greens being added, which are a little bit heavier as a leaf, I wanted that to be soft and mixed in and not obvious that I've used them. And in the meantime, while that's been taking place, I also went off and worked with my ricotta cheese, feta cheese, and egg mix. And I used 6 eggs in this case. Typically, in most recipes they say 4. but I really want to make sure that I'm not dealing with any kind of binding issues. So this is the full tub of ricotta cheese, my 2 punnets of feta cheese, and 6 eggs mixed in together. Once my spinach mixture is cooled, I'm going to add that into this mix, and now I have my pie filling. Now, one of the catch-me's with the spinach piece, as you will have noticed when we were over there looking at it, how moist it really gets. Now, while I'm waiting for my pie filling spinach to cool, I'm now going off and I'm putting my base into my pan or my baking dish for my pastry. Now what I've done here is I have a mixture of olive oil and margarine, which I'm using it to brush on, and I've cut my pastry in half, and you have to move pretty fast because this stuff dries out very quickly. I've cut it in half and I'm layering it on. I want effectively a minimum of 10 layers at my base, which is basically 10 sheets here in this roll. And I want to use my mixture of margarine and oil as an adhesive over each layer. And of course I'm cross-matching this so they're not, so effectively from a pattern point of view, we're not getting a clean lines, rather we're covering those lines with each layer as we're moving through. Okay, so that's my pastry base put in place. Now you have to move pretty fast because the Filo pastry as a single sheet will dry out very quickly. Make sure that you put plenty of oil and butter between the layers so they adhere properly. And then obviously crisscross your pattern as you're laying the base. So that way then your seals are a little bit more seamless at the end of the day. Spinach is I use a colander to drain off any excess fluid. I hate to waste it because it's obviously quite good, but at the end of the day, we don't want this to be too runny. And you'll see here this is a nice, thick pie mixture, right? Plenty of spinach, plenty of greens, onion, garlic, stack load of spices, and our ricotta and feta cheese mixture. This is ready now to go into our pie. Put my filling into the pie. And I'm now going to turn over the edges. Now I made sure that I kept them fairly moist. So as I turn these edges over, I'm going to hope then when I put my pastry on top, and I'm going to repeat the same process, right? Take one full pack, right, and cut it in half and then layer it so that I get a nice feel for my overall presentation, okay? And don't be surprised if some of this is dried out a little bit. That's kind of natural. But then soften it now with your butter and oil before you move on and start layering in the other pieces, right? We have our spinach pie, or Spanakopita, ready to be baked. And there you have it, Spanakopita, or spinach pie, right? Notice the pastry is nice and brown. It's flaked up, which is quite good. It's ready to eat. I've got to let it cool before I cut it, obviously, which is the real trick with pies. And then let's see what it looks like served. Let the pie cool, and I've now cut out a corner. And if you look at the piece that's come out, see how perfect that is? So that tells you two things. One, I've done the pastry fairly well and I've greased the pan appropriately. And two, I've let it cool to the point where I can cut it comfortably and I can take it out of the baking tray. Now you see here, see how thick and full this is from a spinach and ricotta cheese and feta cheese perspective, right? It is so delicious and tasty, right? You know, see how crisp and light the Filo is? So from a cutting point of view, trying to cut it just with a fork is probably a little bit optimistic. You know, realistically, you look after it with a knife, but it still comes apart quite nicely. It is a very, very tasty and delicious treat for the family. And this pie should last the whole family at least 2 meals, right? So there is a bit of work in it, but it is worth it. It is delicious. It is extremely different. If you have guests coming over, this is certainly a conversation piece. I hope you enjoy healthy living